As we await an official call on who will control the House of Representatives, the two parties are heading in two radically different directions on Capitol Hill today. On one hand, uproarious applause from inside the House Democratic caucus this morning. According to reporting from Jake Sherman, a better-than-expected midterm showing has Democrats energized. And curtain number two, Republicans, expected to hold a narrow majority in the House, voted today on leadership positions. After predicting a red wave and not seeing so much as a trickle after such a demoralizing midterm, Kevin McCarthy faced a challenge for Speaker of the House from his party's right flank, although he did end up winning it. But still, the Republican Party is in the process of, shall we say, taking a quick look in the mirror. We don't know what that'll result in. But joining us to help us figure that out, what we should expect or gird for, Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, member of the House Homeland Security, Judiciary, and Intelligence Committees. First, Congressman, you were a voice on what voters really seemed to come out and respond to, and that was a call to protect our very democracy. Tell me how you're feeling 1 week after those midterm elections.
Feeling very good, Nicole. The voters clearly rejected chaos, and that's what the Republicans ran on, and they awarded competence. And we ran on the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, the rescue plan, and that frame worked in our direction. It was really a win for democracy. And then we also had this other frame of we can be a country that picks its leaders by voting, or we can be a country that picks its leaders by violence. And the Republicans were more comfortable with violence over the last 2 years. And so the voters have spoken. And regardless of where, the majority lands, we beat every single expectation that was out there, and the Republicans laid a historic egg.
An historic, I wasn't sure where you were going, but egg wasn't what I would have guessed. Indeed. We had a conversation just ahead of the elections in the wake of the brutal attack against Paul Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi's husband, and the response and how different it was from when Steve Scalise was shot. And there was condemnation of any and all political violence motivated by any and all ideology. Not so when Paul Pelosi was brutally attacked by a hammer. Donald Trump and lots of right-wing media personalities were joking about it. Carrie Lake was making jokes to a crowd. The crowd laughed. You've been the target of a lot of political threats of violence and assassination. What do you make of the rejection? Do you feel like it was a rejection of this loose talk and incitement of political violence? And do you feel like that's good, or is there more to do? Just weigh in on that.
The voters rejected violent rhetoric, and we continue to see it from Republicans, but that was on the ballot. And Andy Biggs, who received 33 votes today in the Republican conference running against Kevin McCarthy, he made one of the worst jokes about Speaker Pelosi and her husband just a week ago. And in contrast to every Democrat at the congressional baseball game a day after Steve Scalise was shot, having condemned the violence and wearing Steve Scalise's LSU hat in solidarity with him. It's a cruel, vile lot that they have found themselves in, and it goes all the way to the very top. And the voters not only rejected that vile rhetoric from Republicans, but also its leader, because every exit poll showed Donald Trump was at 55 to 60% underwater in favorability. So if they want to double down on crazy, you can lead a cult in America, but in a democracy, if you lose the House in 2018, you lose the White House and the Senate in 20, and you don't take back the Senate and you fail to meet expectations in the House, you're a loser. And Donald Trump's a loser, and they are going to go all in with a loser, and I think Americans just want us to get things done.
Your closing ad was sort of tying all these things together, but really anchored by the Dobbs decision overturning a constitutional right women in America have enjoyed for 50 years. How do you think that played, and what is the plan going forward to try to protect women's access to abortion health care?
Well, to continue to fight for them, Nicole, and look at other states where we can codify in those states, abortion access, because that also turned out, voters in historic ways, but also to reward and give agency to Generation Z. And we have Maxwell Frost now in the Congress, a 25-year-old who was a founder of March for Our Lives. Make sure that we reward that generation and bring them to the table on the issues they care about of, climate justice, racial equality, ending gun violence, healthcare equity. We can't ignore them, otherwise they will walk away.
Congressman, you spend a lot of time helping us understand the things that Democrats are fighting for, helping us understand the various investigations into Donald Trump. What is your opinion of how we should cover his announcement tonight? Should he announce another run for the White House?
Well, Nicole, it'll be interesting to see who shows up, right? Who is still all in with a three-time loser, twice impeached, with investigations all over the country, both civil and criminal. Who wants to, as I said, triple, quadruple down on that bet? But I really do believe right now is, to quote Churchill, it may not be the beginning of the end of Trumpism, but it is probably the end of the beginning. And I welcome and hope that, a responsible Republican Party rises out of this. But watch the House. Because I believe if Kevin McCarthy does, find his way into the speakership, he'll lead the land of misfit toys. It'll be a vessel state to MAGA Nation, but it will also form the largest law firm in Washington, D.C. with just one client. And they're not going to fight for the American people. They're going to have one client, and they're going to litigate all of his grievances from the border to Hunter Biden to the FBI to attacking trans kids. And they're going to have no other agenda. And they're going to do it for somebody who, as I said, 60% of the American population view unfavorably.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? I mean, they just ran on all that stuff. That is what their candidacies were about. Voters rejected it, but I think you're right. I was in the party. We don't reflect. We double down on what didn't work, and that's how Trump happened. I mean, what do you do? What do Democrats do in response?
Again, govern responsibly in the Senate, confirm judges who will follow the rule of law, make sure we have a cabinet that, can support the effort in Ukraine and be responsive to the needs of the American people. And then I think Democrats will find a number of Republicans who barely, by the skin of their teeth were reelected, who are going to want to work with us. And so you may see sort of a coalition of the responsible. And I saw Don Bacon yesterday from Omaha, barely won there, saying, if we're going to go down the Marjorie Taylor Greene crazy train, take me off, count me out. And I think there's going to be more and more people who are going to find, that's the direction they're headed.